Mark Cuban is here. Ever since he was a child, he wanted to be an entrepreneur. He started his first business at 12, selling garbage bags door to door in his native Pittsburgh. After college, he started Micro Solutions, his own computer consulting firm. The company was grossing $30 million a year when he sold it to CompuServe and retired as a millionaire in 1990. In 1995, he co-founded Broadcast.com, which quickly became the leading provider of multimedia and streaming content on the Internet. The company was purchased by Yahoo in July 1999. This January, the die-hard sportsman fulfilled a lifelong dream. He bought the Dallas Mavericks basketball team. I am pleased to have him on this broadcast for the first time. Welcome.
Thank you, Charlie.
I can say about you. This I can say. Jerry Yang was here at the time before he bought. When you two were friends, but there were, I don't know whether there were negotiations at the time, but before you made a deal. And I said to him, you have got, not because I was smart, just playing with him. I said, you have got to take advantage of this multiple and get out and buy something. You know, and we had a little conversation about that. And then I knew you because of Broadcast.com, and you and I went out to Yankee Stadium one day before all this happened. And then I read Kaboom. You know, in fact, we had some interesting conversations along the time that he and Yahoo had bought Broadcast.
Does that mean I owe you a commission?
You owe me a ticket to the Mavericks when I come to Dallas. That's what you owe me. That's what you owe.
That's the deal.
But you are the poster boy for success in the .com era.
Or luck, one or the other.
Oh, look. Tell me what it is. I mean, what is it that, how do you measure this whole experience, this ride that you have been on since you put together Broadcast.com?
Let's put it this way. I don't let anybody pinch me just in case I might wake up. I mean, it's just been amazing. I mean, I think some hard work, a lot of good fortune put together. In some respects, I can't ever claim to say, look, if I wanted to do this again, I could do it again, because that's craziness. One of the biggest mistakes you can make in this business is to think you're smart, because everybody's a genius in a bull market. But at the same time, I think what was really particularly interesting about this is it was history repeating itself over and over again, and that's what gave us the template for Broadcast.com from a business perspective.
What does that mean?
In other words, if you look at the start of the PC industry, when you had IBM and Compaq and old companies like Columbia and Eagle, there was just this big explosion, both in the startup of companies and in the stock market. If you look at the software business, back when Microsoft was getting going, and Ashton Tate and Lotus, big explosion, then it came back down to earth. You know, networking business. So we knew when we got into this, there was going to be a big explosion of some sort. We just wanted to ride the wave, and we thought we had a good business model to make it all happen, and we also knew we had to get out.
But see, you saw it quicker, better, more profitably than anyone else. A, you chose the right partner. Suppose you had gotten a lot of stock, and I could name 10 other companies. Price.com, Priceline.com. Yeah. Suppose it was Priceline.com. You'd be selling the Gulfstream right now.
Yeah, well, you know, one of the good things about my partner, Todd Wagner, is he's very, very
he was with you that day we went out to Yankee Stadium.
Exactly. Very conservative. And we both believe that pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And no matter, one of the values of the Yahoo deal, besides the fact that they were a good partner from a match perspective, you know, their audience with Broadcast.com's capabilities made for a stronger company, but they didn't want us to be on the board of directors. They didn't want us to have to register in any way, shape, or form. They didn't want an employment agreement, which meant liquidity. Yeah. And the golden word in our minds, period, end of story, was liquidity. No
so
matter what.
They gave you stock which you could then sell?
6 months after the deal. October 11th of 1999. But
this is all public records. How much stock did you get?
14 million shares, I think, give or take, when it was all said and done.
And so when you liquidated, you could have liquidated it for?
1.8 or 9 billion.
You?
Yeah, personally.
And so you got $1.9 billion in cash.
Well, I didn't liquidate 100% of it. What I did was hedge.
You hedged.
Right. So I wouldn't have to just turn around and pay taxes on it. I just created, through Goldman Sachs, I created some instruments that said, okay, I don't need any more money. I don't care about the upside. I'm not going to get greedy. If the stock was going to go from 120 or 30, whatever it was, to 300, you know, how much money do you need? But on the flip side, I wanted to protect against the downside. And that's exactly what I did. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
By going cash?
No, by buying puts.
Okay, by buying puts, so it went down.
Calls, right. I was protected on the way down, so if Yahoo goes to zero, I still have the same as the day we sold.
Jesus Christ. Now, is this because Ted was that smart, or because you both arrived at that decision, or
Todd and I
because
both.
Goldman Sachs, Todd, I mean,
Yeah.
because Goldman Sachs said this is the way to go?
No, Todd and I both said we need to protect ourselves. You know, before broadcast.com, all I did was trade stocks.
Right.
And so I knew that nobody, there was just no way this thing was going to stick around forever. I would go around giving speeches saying 99% of the .com companies were going to go out of business.
Which is about true.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I gave a thing for one of the internet conferences where they gave me a list of companies.
Yeah.
And Priceline, this one Priceline was 100 and something. And they said, Priceline, what do you think? I said, gone.
Gone.
You know,
Yeah.
because unless there's certain things that repeat themselves, and, you know, there's just no way all these companies are going to stay at these valuations.
Has this been a good investment for Yahoo?
Yeah, no question about
In
it.
emergency, what amount of money they spent to purchase broadcast.com has been good for them?
Yeah, because it wasn't cash. It was all relative stock.
Yeah.
And so if you look at exactly where Yahoo is right now, they're being criticized for not having enough revenue and earnings in non-advertising based services, which is
Yeah.
exactly where broadcast.com was the base for
Exactly.
them. Now, they could have been more aggressive in utilizing it and growing that part of the business, but at the same time, it's a beautiful match. Everything that's happening in the .com world in terms of usage of the internet is leaning towards broadband and multimedia. You know, the net is not going to stay purely text and graphics. That is exactly what broadcast.com does. And what's better, all but maybe one or two of broadcast.com's competitors back then, and there were a lot of people that came in very, very hyped up, they've all gone out of business.
Yeah.
And so now you've got one of the standing pillars as part of Yahoo, and they just made an announcement yesterday saying they were going to enhance what they were offering through their webcasting services, which is now Yahoo Broadcast.
Yeah. They also are going to do something perhaps with ABC. There was some
Right.
rumor of a deal with ABC.
Right, taking their content and
Right.
enabling it for the net, which is exactly what
Is
broadcast.
that deal going to happen, or is it just being talked about?
No,
That's what they
it.
announced.
Yeah,
That's what they announced
Yeah,
yesterday.
exactly.
So you've got all this money, you know, $1.5 billion, whatever it is. You've got the Dallas Mavericks.
Right.
You know, what do you want to do with your life?
Have fun. You know, the most valuable thing that we own, I don't care what you can buy, but the most valuable thing we own is that time that just slips away every single
Yeah.
minute of every day. And I just don't ever want to look back and say, boy, I woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
And I have been so blessed for that.
So just paint this picture for me. So you don't want to look back. So what are you doing in woulda, coulda, shoulda?
Well, things like
You bought the Mavericks.
The Mavericks, you know, I got the plane. You know, I could just, hey, Troy, let's go to Maui. Okay, you know.
I know.
I mean, who would have
There is
thought?
a-
You
yeah.
know, I mean, growing up in a pure blue-collar environment, this is all just so amazing. Sitting here with you, you know, in
Yeah.
this type of circumstance is so amazing to me. So the ability to just put myself in a position, if it's important to me, if it's important to my family, you know, to allow my parents just to travel. My dad and my brother are probably in Bangkok right now.
Oh,
You know,
that's
my
great.
dad did
That's
upholstery for a living,
Yeah.
and now he has just carte blanche. Him
Is
and
he
my
on
mom.
the G5 in Bangkok?
No, actually, I keep the G5 here because I don't want it, but he's first class. Don't worry
He's
about
going
it.
all right. Yeah. And is he happy? Does he love the fact that he now has freedom?
I mean, he just looks. My dad can't even talk to me sometimes anymore. He just cries.
Is that right? Does he really? Because he's a free man.
Yes, I mean, I remember that when business started going well for me the first time, my dad said, "Mark, I just have to ask you, how much money did you make this year?" And it was when I first got into 7 figures.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't believe it.
I know.
He couldn't believe it. At one time, my uncle had. He and my uncle had an upholstery business called Regency Products, where, you know, you get a rip in the seat in your car, you
Right.
take it to my dad,
Right.
and they fixed it. And they had a problem. Their insurance company went belly up. And my uncle called me in tears, you know, we've lost $65,000. Can you help us out? And I said, what do you think? You know, of course I can. But to them, they're just so unfathomable, you know, that I was in this position. So they're awfully proud. And now they're starting to get from that point where, okay, I can't believe it, to, oh, this isn't so bad.
What's nice about you is that, A, you're enjoying it, and you're not embarrassed by it, and you don't feel it's necessary to apologize for
No.
it. I mean, you just say, look, it happened to me.
Somebody's
I
gonna
got
win the
lucky, I
lottery.
got smart, I
Yeah.
won the lottery, and here I go, you know.
I was happy with my life before.
Yeah.
A lot of people felt, okay, you're going to change. All these things about you are going to be different. You know, I have more toys,
Yeah.
but I
But there's still 24 hours in a day.
yeah, and I
you know,
still
you
eat
still
the
can wear
same
one pair of
things.
pants at a time, as they say.
Exactly.
So then the notion of advice, I mean, how do you get wise about this? You want to have fun, but you also want to be wise. You don't want to do something which you go off the deep end,
Right.
as some people who come into tons of money do. And all of a sudden, they realize they've been an embarrassment
Right.
to themselves
Right.
and their parents and their friends.
Well, I mean, it's all relative to what you're involved in, and it's all relative to your visibility. You know, before I bought the Mavs and I had season tickets and I was sitting right next to the bench screaming my head off, yelling at the refs, cussing, and, you know, I was just a very supportive fan. Now I'm an eccentric owner, and, you know, because people are paying attention, and, you know, the sports world has a different set of rules and how they pay attention to people than the rest of the world. So if you put aside how the sports world looks at me, then to me the key is not believing the PR and not believing that you're anything other than who you are. You know, again, I don't try to be things that I'm not, do things that I'm not, and, you know, I'm not looking for new friends. I'm just the same, try to be the same person.
If Jerry Jones called you up and said, I'm tired of owning the Cowboys, could you buy it? I know you could financially afford it, but could you buy them? Is there any reason you couldn't buy them?
Financially, no. Just emotionally, there's no way.
You couldn't?
Yeah, there's no way I would.
Why?
To me, I have an emotional investment in the Mavericks. I love basketball. I love the Mavericks. I love what I'm doing with it. And I just don't think I can make the same emotional investment in any other franchise or another business, for that matter, unless it was really something special to me.
No other sports business, no other, this is it for you.
This is it.
What do you believe you can do with the Mavericks?
Championships.
Do you really?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't say when, and I don't have a timetable, but I think if you do a lot of the right things and you're fortunate and get the right players, then you can win championships.
If it happens to the Lakers, it can happen to the Mavericks, is the idea?
Absolutely. And why not?
So what are you doing right now to make that happen?
Well, in this world of a collective bargaining agreement and salary cap, you have to put your franchise in a position to be attractive to players around the league, so that they want to come play for you, that they realize that they're going to be working for somebody who cares about them, that's going to give them every tool that they need to succeed. And that's what I've tried to do.
You had Dennis Rodman do what?
Live in my house. He was my roommate for a while. We make mistakes, you know.
So where was your head?
Well, you know, think of put the Mavericks in perspective. We haven't been to the playoffs in 10 years, right? Only winning 40 games and still being under 500 was a good season at that point in time. We were the last team, last in the league in rebounding and last in defense. There was only one direction for us to go. Up. Exactly. So why not take a chance? Right. Again, it goes back to
that's one thing. Taking a chance is one thing. Having the guy come, not because Dennis might be a great roommate, it may be fun. He's probably a smart guy, and so all of that is a good idea. But you made a deal with him where you give him a bunch of money, and you say, come live in my house, and, you know, it meant that much to you.
Well, yeah, I wanted to put him in a position to succeed.
Right.
He's a circus. He's going to attract a circus, and, you know...
Sell tickets, etc.?
Well, it's not so much even the tickets. It's just having security at my house. Right. So the circus stays outside the wall.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right.
Making sure that he gets to practice on time. Hey, Dennis, come on,
so this was your way of being also in loco parentis.
Exactly. Yeah, I was the parental supervision. Yeah. So I thought.
So you thought.
And then Brand Rodman went into effect, and, you know, you put a camera in his face, and Brand Rodman goes on. He'll tell you one thing to your face and a whole other thing to the camera, so it was interesting.
So are you going to be in the market for new players? I mean,
always, but I'd much prefer to reward my existing players. You know, you always want to put yourself in a position to improve, but it's interesting with the salary cap and the collective bargaining agreement in the NBA, it's only 2 years old, not even 2 years old. So there really haven't been any strategies that have been formulated that you know are the best ways to go. And so you really have to make some strategic decisions. Do you take an approach like the Chicago Bulls and the Orlando Magic did, where you just clear out as many players as you can and try to go have lots of cap room to sign free agents? Yeah. Or do you do like the Portland Trail Blazers did, where you gather as many assets that you can exchange? Well, the majority of transactions and player movement that have taken place in the past 2 years have been in sign and trades. There's only been a few straight-up free agent signings. You know, Tracy McGrady, Ron Mercer, very, very few. And those, you know, were important, but they weren't the biggest impact trades. You know, you look at Eddie Jones moving to Miami, Brian Grant, they had to have things to trade. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'd rather gather assets and be in a position to have decent players so I can play now, but also assets to do a sign and trade.
Okay, but say take Tim. Did you have a possibility of getting Tim when he was considering leaving San Antonio?
No, because we didn't have cap room.
You had no cap room?
No cap room at all.
You couldn't get rid of anything? You couldn't do anything?
No,
There's no way?
nobody we had that we were willing to trade that they were willing to take.
Well, it was more that you had nobody they were willing to take.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, they weren't going to try to trade them no matter what, so I'd have to steal them away.
Yeah, so that was not a deal. That was a non-starter from the beginning.
Non-starter, right. And plus, people didn't know who
Why didn't he go to... I was amazed why he didn't go to Orlando. That deal could have been made, couldn't it?
Who knows? I mean, people, when you already know what your maximum salary is, then other influences come to play.
climate,
your
who's on the other
friends,
team,
the organization, the chances of winning, your comfort. People are adverse to change in any organization. It's not that much different than the .com business.
In that people are what?
Well, you've got in the .com business, I had 20-year-olds with blue hair, tattoos, everything that were worth $25 million.
Yeah.
How do you keep them
But they're
motivated?
also prepared to work all night and to get there.
Not always.
That's the problem.
Before it was vested, yes.
Yeah, right,
but
right.
after
Once it's vested, it's
a
over.
whole different story. Are they resting and investing, or are they taking pride in their work?
Yeah.
And
Resting and investing.
Yeah. And at the same time, there's always somebody out there trying to recruit them.
Yeah.
Amazon.com paid somebody at one point options that were worth $1 billion to recruit them from somewhere, and
This is the guy who's the CEO or not? I don't know.
I think COO of Amazon.
Right,
yeah.
right. And then he lasted 6 months.
Yeah,
He was out
whatever it
with
was.
right.
But the point is, you've got, in the .com world, people are continuously recruiting your people, your salespeople who have, account bases. They're the hardest people to attract. So there's a .com company out there saying, if I only get broadcast.com salesperson, my sales are going up, I have a better chance of profitability. I'll give them as much stock as I think I can. So my job was to keep all my existing people happy. Well, in the NBA, the same thing applies. There's a maximum amount of money that they can go out and get in other places, but you want to make them so, happy where they are, where every night's prom
And how do you
night.
make them happy?
You give them all the tools they need to be successful, and it's so
At basketball or at life?
all the above. All the above. It may be giving them a masseuse on the road. It may be having a chef for them, because if you're a 21-year-old kid, you're going to eat French fries from McDonald's, even though that's, or in potato chips. It's like Dirk Nowitzki, right? Yeah. Great athlete, great player. He was getting tired in the fourth quarter. Well, if you're eating potato chips before and after the game, I don't care how young you are.
Bad nutrition, therefore it shows.
Exactly. Treating them by having them stay in the first-class hotels.
From flying on a first-class plane.
Exactly. I mean, we all feel better on a down pillow with a bed that fits, taking a shower, putting on a nice bathrobe. You just feel better about yourself. You're more rested. You're going to play better, especially in the hectic schedule of the NBA.
Every night.
And you would be shocked. Some people think, well, you shouldn't do that. I'm not talking about the Spurs in particular, but, Tim Duncan's making all this money. Let him get his own stuff. I don't look at it that way at all. I'm paying all these guys all this money. I have a huge investment in them. I want to give them everything they need.
I mean, you're in Dallas, and San Antonio is where Tim Duncan was. I've often wondered, what was it? Was it he was just comfortable there? He loved David Robertson. What was it that in the end, did his family have an involvement there? Did his wife, if he has a wife and children, have an involvement there?
What is it? The scuttlebutt is that, and I don't know this for fact, but that the Magic would not let his girlfriend travel on the team plane.
Now, would you have done that?
In a heartbeat. Nanosecond. Yeah, boy. Absolutely.
Tim Duncan would have brought. You could have built a team around him.
Well, every team is only one player away from a championship.
Magic wouldn't have. What if that was Doc? You think Doc Rivers made that decision?
I have no idea.
Or some.
Don't know.
Well, but here's the other problem, though. If you're getting McCready and you're also getting from Detroit, from the Pistons, you're getting Grant Hill, then maybe you don't want to sort of start doing that stuff.
Is that enough? Look at Stockton and Malone. That goes back to the strategy of building a franchise. Stockton and Malone are 2 Hall of Famers.
Yeah. Never won a championship.
Never.
It's too late now, because this is Stockton's out of there.
Yep. And so now you look at Hill and McGrady, and they've used up all their cap room, and do they have any assets to trade? Well, they have a bunch of draft choices, so maybe they can get another great player to go with that. But it's a tough road to haul when you're starting from 1 or 2 free agents and going from there. From our perspective, we'd rather gather as many assets that are tradable and build up a core of draft choices and develop them, because now you have 5-year contracts, so you have time to develop them.
McCready is going to be a huge superstar.
He is a superstar.
I know he is, but I mean even more so.
He's amazing.
He is amazing.
He's an amazing athlete to watch. He's fun to watch.
I saw a piece the other day about the player at San Francisco. Both of them used to be Vince Carter and what's his name that went out to San Francisco?
Antoine Jameson.
He's coming on strong. All of a sudden, it looked like Carter was the prize, and Anton is coming on
50 points back to back.
Exactly.
You don't see that happen too often.
I mean, he is actually becoming all that they thought when he was a draft choice and he left UNC.
But you know what's interesting? You get Golden State is not a whole lot different than Mavs were last year.
Yeah.
A great nucleus of players, a few too many injuries, but you've got to start giving these guys who have been in damaged programs, let's call them, the thought process that they can win, that they are expected to win. And that's what I've tried to introduce, and it's tough. A lot of guys just go in thinking, I'm just going to do my job and get out. And you've got to get past that when you're in an organization that's had a lot of hard times.
How much of a risk is it that you're going to be too involved and you're not going to let the coach who understands basketball run the team?
No, because I'm not that stupid to think that I'm going to impinge on what the coach is going to do.
So you're not going to insist that he buy one player or the other,
No.
or that he trade one player or the other,
No.
or that he change anything?
Contrary to that, I'm sitting down with Nelly and our staff, and I'm saying, what kind of
Don
tools
Nelson,
can I
right.
what kind of tools can I give you to allow you to make better decisions? Because it's funny, when we sat there to get ready for the draft, there was a stack of tapes this big. We had 3 TV monitors, and they're all like putting tapes in. And I'm like, this is so archaic. You know,
Yeah.
here I am, the guy from the digital media world, right? And I'm just embarrassed, and I'm looking at tape. So to help Nelly and Don in our coaching staff, we set up 15 DirecTV receivers. We set up a whole bank of computers and encoders, and now we're digitizing all that. So you want to see the latest rookie coming out of college? Okay, we'll put together, you know, a little disc, or you just go and search for them, so it just makes it a lot better.
And you probably have some, you know, everything there is to know about everybody who's either that you can draft next year, so that you can be smarter than you would otherwise.
Exactly. Because you make one little decision better than you would have otherwise, and you're set for life.
At this stage, who's the rookie of the year in the NBA?
There isn't one.
No, there's no great rookie.
Kenyon Martin probably.
There's no Elton Brand.
Exactly.
So it's Kenyon Martin who came up
He's
after broken his leg first.
Right. He's probably leading the pack because he's getting the most playing time.
Yeah.
But there's nobody right now who is taking a franchise to the next level. I mean, and then you look at Stromile Swift right behind him, and you know, even our guys aren't getting tons of playing time.
Did you go to most of the Maverick games?
All of them, unless I have some commitment that I can't get out of.
Yeah. Just the home games, or on the road as well?
On the road, I travel with them.
Jump into G5, and here I come.
Yeah, well, when I travel on the team plane, you know, I put on my headphones, I sit there, I watch the movies with the guys. I mean, you know, it's no different than any other business. If you just spent $280 million for a business, you'd want to get involved to say, what can I do to improve it? You know, I think every business, whether it's sports or otherwise, I don't know why people, you know, extract sports and say it's business, it's different as a different business.
It's not.
No. Microsoft without Bill Gates, Oracle without Larry Ellison, you know, the Redskins without Daniel Snyder, for better or worse, you know, and I think for the better more often than not, the imprint that the owner puts in, the passion that the owner puts in, only has positive results.
It's great to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
Congratulations. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mark Cuban will be back. Stay with us.